welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. So what I have for you guys today is going to be another episode of the Championship Roundup, guys. So football was back this weekend and it was back in full action. We've got a whole lot of action to go ahead and discuss about this weekend's Championship games, guys. We had a lot of goals going in this weekend. We probably saw the miss of the century as well, and if you've watched the highlights this week, you'll know which miss I'm talking about. And overall, we just had a lot of drama this weekend. So as always, guys, I am very interested to hear as to what you guys did think of your team's performance. Let me know in the comments down below, what did you make of your teams this weekend? And as well as that, guys, this video will actually be split into two parts. So the first half of the video is going to be me rounding up all of this weekend's action from each of the Championship games, and then the second half of the video is going to be my Championship midweek score predictions, as we have even more Championship football coming at us this week, guys. So as well as that, I'd love to get your midweek score predictions, so all of those games will be listed in the description down below. Then you guys can easily go ahead and make your predictions. So speaking of your predictions, guys, I will include your comments on screen now, so if any of you guys did successfully manage to get any of your scorelines correct this weekend, I will include your comment on screen now. So fair play to everyone who did get one correct this weekend. I managed to get one of mine correct this week, so that wasn't bad. That was the Reading against Wolves game, so that's not bad going from me. So guys, let's just get into the games now. So the first game that we have to talk about was the first one taking place on Friday night between Burton Albion and Sheffield United, and in this one, Sheffield United did look very promising actually. It was a 3-1 victory for them in the end, and got off to the perfect start in this one really, with a Billy shot penalty giving them the lead quite early on. In fairness to Burton, they did get back into it with a goal from Palmer, but that lead only lasted for 3 minutes before Billy Sharp gave Sheffield United the lead again. And overall, it was just a very impressive performance from the Sheffield United side, who were keeping pressure on Wolves at the top of the table. And the only bad thing about this from Sheffield United's point of view was that Paul Coots had to come off on a stretcher, so obviously we wish him all the best of luck in his recovery this season. But Sheffield United fans, for the rest of the season, do you think you'll keep up this momentum? Let me know down below. And then into our next game we then had the next game taking place on Friday night between my club Preston and Bolton Wanderers, and I'm not gonna lie, this was not a good game of football. It wasn't brilliant by any stretch of the imagination, finishing goalless in the end, and was a little bit anticlimactic really, you know. Preston going into this game on an awful run of form, and Bolton going into it on a pretty nice run. They're now 6 games unbeaten in the Championship, so that's good going from them, as they managed to climb off the bottom of the Championship and look to stay up this season. But in the first half, Preston had a couple decent opportunities. Gallagher was the main player for Preston, instigating everything. From set pieces, we had a couple chances, you know. Barkusen had an alright chance, Andy Boyle and Paul Huntington as well, but apart from that, we weren't really threatening, and especially in the second half, Preston looked to retreat and invited a little bit more pressure on us from Bolton than I thought we needed to, but in the end, both sides going forward weren't great. And then into our next game we then had Birmingham, who came up against Nottingham Forest, and in the end it was Birmingham who managed to claim all 3 points with the 1-0 home victory. And in my opinion, this is a huge result for Birmingham. You know, they needed to stop the rot of this current run of results as soon as possible, and it's clear to see that they've been working on some stuff over the international break. You know, they got to the perfect start in this one with Che Adams giving them the lead after just 5 minutes, and after that, defensively, I thought they were looking much more resilient in this one. There's still a couple things that needed to be tweaked, don't get me wrong, but Kujak in net for them as well made some terrific saves, and overall, I thought Forest would have been a bit disappointed with how they went about things. Missed a few opportunities, but fair play to Birmingham, they're back on track. And then into our next game we go, guys. We then had Cardiff, who came up against Brentford, and oh my word, in this game it just did feature a ridiculous miss from Neil Maupay. I don't know how he did it. I think it was Ollie Watkins who played the ball into him. He'd gone around the goalkeeper. He literally had the full goal to aim at, and he put it wide. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. If that's not the miss of the season in the Championship this year, then I don't know what will be. But it was a ridiculous blunder from him, and for Brentford overall, it just wasn't their day going forward. They were creating chances, but nothing seemed to be clicking for them in the final third in this one, and in the end Cardiff managed to take full advantage of that as they managed to grab 2 goals for themselves. So Brentford, I thought, would have been quite disappointed because it wasn't a bad performance from them, it was just some very sloppy finishing, but in fairness to Cardiff, they're still keeping the pressure on the teams at the top of the table with a 2-0 victory. And our next game saw Hull City draw 2-2 with Ipswich Town, and quite an intriguing encounter this one actually, a decent game of football in the end, which not many people may have been expecting for this one. Defensively, I don't think either two sides covered themselves in too much glory after this one. There was a couple blunders from either side, I think that's fair to say, but overall going forward there were some decent attacking plays in this one. Hull especially are a team which I think if they do manage to sort out their defensive line going forward, I think they could be a threat in the Championship. You know, they've got players going forward like Grosicki, Dicko on his day, and Jared Bowen and Abel Hernandez when he comes back from injury. It's just been their defensive blunders which have cost them this season, and a couple more were on show in this one here today. Ipswich, you could say, maybe got a bit unlucky as they did miss a penalty with David McGoldrick, but overall a 2-2 draw, not a bad result for either side. And our next game saw Norwich draw 1-1 with Barnsley in the end, and Norwich got off to a good start in this one with a deflected Josh Murphy goal going in after just 12 minutes, and in the rest of the first half there were chances for both sides in this game really. I thought that Adam Davis was making some nice saves for Barnsley in this one. You know, I think Oliveira had an alright chance at one point, and James Maddison as well had a decent attempt which was saved by him, but Barnsley as well, I thought they were alright going forward in this one. You know, they managed to get back into this game almost instantly after the second half had kicked off with a goal from Barnes in that one, and then in the second half it really was for either side to go ahead and take it, but some nice defending from both sides managed to see this one end as a 1-1 draw in the end. And our next game saw Aston Villa be victorious by 2-1 away at Loftus Road against QPR, and quite an interesting game this one. QPR took the lead with a really bizarre goal. It came from a corner, and I don't know what happened really. It was just an absolute goalmouth scramble where in the end Mackie managed to go ahead and tap the ball into the back of the net. Maybe that's Aston Villa being a little bit unorganised at the back, perhaps due to John Terry being out and things like that, but in fairness to Aston Villa, their reaction after that goal did go in was very promising actually. You know, they were going forward straight away, they weren't happy with how things were going, and they were instantly testing Alex Smithies in the QPR goal, and in fairness to them, in the end that pressure did manage to pay off with Albert Adoma giving them an equaliser just before half time. That really was a setback, I felt like, for QPR. If that goal hadn't have gone in, I thought that they would have perhaps changed their game plan slightly to go into the second half to better combat that Villa side, but when they made it 1-1, Villa in the second half, they were looking hungry to go ahead and get the winner, and in the end that came through a penalty where Adoma managed to slot it away again. So a nice victory for Aston Villa there, which sees them keeping the playoff push. And our next game saw Wolves come up against Reading away from home and managed to grab all 3 points with the 2-0 victory, and don't let that scoreline completely deceive you. You know, Reading weren't actually a bad side in this one here today, and perhaps got a little bit unlucky at the end of it. You know, with some of the chances that Reading had in this one to not score a goal, I thought they'd have been very disappointed with actually. You know, they had quite a few chances in the first half where they just couldn't manage to capitalise on it. John Ruddy in net for Wolves, I thought, had an excellent game, maybe been a bit of an unsung hero for Wolves this season. You know, we've given the Wolves attack force a lot of plaudits this season, and rightly so, but in a few games this season actually, John Ruddy stood tall for Wolves and managed to grab them the points, and I felt like this was one of those times in this one with Reading getting a little bit unlucky going forward. But in fairness to Wolves going forward, I don't think they were at their sparkling best in this game, but they did have 10-minute spells dotted throughout the game where they were looking very impressive. You know, the goal they scored first of all with Cavallero was a very impressive finish. His composure when he got through on goal was something else, and of course they then managed to wrap it up in the second half, which keeps them top of the Championship. And our next game saw a 0-0 draw actually take place between Sheffield Wednesday and Bristol City, so a little bit of a surprising scoreline that, in my opinion, as both these two sides were coming into this one on a great run of form and were scoring a lot of goals. You know, looking over the attack forces of both Wednesday and Bristol City, I thought this one had the potential to be an absolute goal fest, but in the end it was the opposite of that really, and it did finish as a 0-0. I didn't think there was an awful lot between these two sides. Both of them had got a couple half chances, but they just couldn't get into it. If I had to say who had the better chances in this one, I'd probably edge towards Bristol City. You know, I know Bobby Reid had a decent chance, which he just couldn't manage to fit in the back of the net, and on another day this might not have been the scoreline, but a 0-0 draw, it's not a bad result for either side. And our next game saw Sunderland draw 2-2 at the Stadium of Light with Millwall. And before we actually get into talking about this game, when I'm recording this video now, it has been officially confirmed that Chris Coleman has taken over as the new Sunderland manager. So Sunderland fans, what do you think of that appointment? Let me know down below. In my opinion, I'm really surprised that this has actually happened. I think it's a great appointment for Sunderland. It's just the sort of manager that they do need, in my opinion. But honestly, I'm surprised he left Wales, if I had to be honest. You know, when the news did break, it did catch me off guard a little bit, but fair play, that could be a good one for them. Talking over the game now, I mean, every goal that was scored in this one was so avoidable. Both the Sunderland and Millwall goalkeeper had an absolute nightmare in this game here today. I don't think there's any other way about it really. And if one side was going to go ahead and win it, I'd probably say that Sunderland were the better side in this game. But when you've got two goalkeepers who are making that many mistakes, you can't be expected to win a game. And our next game saw Fulham draw 1-1 in the evening kickoff with Derby County. And in this one, I've got to be honest, I did think that Fulham got a little bit unlucky not to go ahead and pick up all 3 points in this one. Over the course of the whole game, I thought that Fulham probably were the better side in this one. They were outplaying Derby at times in this one, but in fairness to Derby, they did defend quite resolute in this one, you know. A complete contrast to what they were like in that game against Reading last time out, so fair play to Derby for defending well. It was Oliver Norwood who gave Fulham the lead in this one with a fantastic free kick. Maybe a few questions could be asked of Scott Carlson, although he did make quite a few other saves in this game, so I'll let him off from that one. Derby then got back into the game with a nice bit of high pressure, which saw Tom Lawrence win the ball back. A fantastic bit of skill from him. He then put in Vidra, who slotted it in to the back of the net quite nicely. And when Derby got that goal, Fulham did look to go ahead and go on and get the winner. And for quite a lot of the second half, I thought that at one point they would go ahead and do it, but in the end, they just didn't have that clinical nature, and it has finished as another draw for Fulham. And then the last game to go ahead and talk over was the game taking place on Sunday between Leeds and Middlesbrough. I'm sure all the Leeds United fans absolutely love this game, as they managed to take down Gary Monk's side by 2-1. And recently Leeds have been getting a lot of criticism, and rightly so in my opinion. They've not been brilliant in recent weeks, but nevertheless in this one they really did show up for it. They were fantastic in this one here today. Hernandez was fantastic. He scored the first goal and then set up the second goal, and they did get 2 goals in this game, but I thought Leeds were maybe a bit unlucky not to get more than that. You know, they had a couple other chances where they were testing this Middlesbrough side. Middlesbrough, of course, did get back into the game with an Asombalonga penalty. Was it a penalty? It was very harsh on Leeds in my opinion, you know. Ayling did pull Ayala to the ground, but before that, Ayala had fouled Ayling, so it was a bit bizarre really, and I don't know why the officials didn't see that foul, but nevertheless Leeds in the end did manage to hang on to that 2-1 victory, and a great result for them. So guys, there were all the games that did take place over the weekend in the Championship. So in terms of my goal of the weekend, for this one I'm going to go ahead and give it to Ivan Cavallero from Wolves for it was a very cheeky finish in the end against Reading. It was such a composed finish to just roll the ball past Manone and then took it into the back of the net. He gets my goal of the weekend. And then in terms of my result of the weekend, for this one I'm going to go ahead and give it to Leeds United. They were on an awful run of form before the international break, but they managed to put in a very impressive performance against an in-form Middlesbrough side to get that 2-1 victory. So now guys, I'll quickly run through all of my midweek score predictions for the games taking place in the Championship. So like I said at the start of the video guys, make sure you do get your predictions in. in the comments down below. So Aston Villa against Sunderland. Despite Chris Coleman coming in, I'm still going to go with a 2-1 home victory for Villa. Barnsley against Cardiff, I'll go for a 2-1 Cardiff in that one. Been quite impressed by Cardiff lately. Brentford against Burton, I'll go for a 3-1 home victory for Brentford, provided they actually take their chances in that game there. Bristol City against Preston, I'm not too confident. I'm going to go for a 2-0 home victory for Bristol City. Derby against QPR, I'll go for a 2-1 Derby. Millwall against Hull, that's a game where quite a few goals could be scored, I think, in that one. I'll go for a 3-2 home victory for Millwall. Forest against Norwich, I'll go for a 2-1 Nottingham Forest victory. I fancy them to bounce back. Sheffield United against Fulham, a very intriguing encounter, that one. Both teams capable of scoring goals. I'll go with another high scoring 3-2 for Sheffield United. Bolton against Reading, I was quite impressed by Reading last time out, so I'll go with a 2-1 victory away from home for them. Ipswich against Sheffield Wednesday, I'll go for a 1-1 draw, and I'll say the same for Middlesbrough against Birmingham. And then the last game we have Wolves, who are coming up against Leeds. That should be a cracker of a match, and that's a tough one to call, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 home victory for Wolves. What do you guys think of that? Let me know down below. So guys, that will now wrap it up for this episode of the Championship Roundup. So if you have enjoyed the video, guys, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you check out all the other links in the description down below, and make sure you subscribe for regular Championship content. But apart from that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.